I've seen a lot of content here about leadership, much of it coming from well-established leadership coaches and a lot from business owners that have mid-sized to large-sized companies. A lot of what I see is really fantastic. There's a lot of thought and practice being put into refining leadership skills. I want to offer another perspective to leadership. See, much of the content that I see provides a long list of characteristics of leaders. Things like being a listener, empathetic, a decision maker, inclusive, enthusiastic, etc. Now, all of these are absolutely spot on. But when there's such a long list of traits, one has to wonder, how do you keep track of them? How do you ensure you are always displaying such traits? It can seem overwhelming. I found the best answers to leadership were what I learned a couple of decades ago. See, back then I was in the army. I was training to become an army officer, learning to lead a platoon of professional soldiers. Over the 4 years of training, we were both trained in the theory and then had to put it into practice out in the field. Like all learning in the military, it is done by taking a complex system or process and breaking it down into its parts. You're then drilled on each part till you have it as close to as perfect as possible. This was the same for leadership. The approach we were taught was a functional approach. There are 3 main considerations in the approach: the mission, the group, and the individual. This means that as a leader, it was your responsibility to know how to allocate attention and focus to each of these 3. At times, the mission needed 100% priority. It would mean that the needs of the group and the individual would take a back seat. Other times, the group would need attention. And then in other circumstances, you had to really pay attention to the individual and ensure that their well-being was being met. Being a leader meant juggling this split. And the best leaders I saw were masters of this. All of these long list of characteristics would shine through depending on the focus of these 3 elements. The application of soft touch or a swift kick in the pants could quickly impact outcomes and success. Leading an organization is a tough role, but when you consider it within these 3 units, you may start to find making leadership decisions easier. Certainly easier than auditing yourself for a long laundry list of traits. Food for thought. If this approach can work for warriors, it can certainly work for those in the business world. I'd love to hear from you, and what do you see as the most important traits as a leader? Thanks.